Hey guys, this is Thrill Corner reporting for Thrillsaurus, and we have a great video for today. This is a review of the Category 5 Extreme Rapids Waterslides from Quassy Amusement Park in Middlebury, Connecticut. I have been to this park 6 or 7 times, and I can firmly say that this is one of the best additions the park has ever gotten. It is the largest addition the park has ever gotten in terms of money, which is pretty impressive considering Wooden Warrior was a big addition for them. And the slides are absolutely amazing. In my opinion, it's the best slide complex in the water park. Beats out the two serpentine slides they have, those tunnel twisters, and their bullet bowl and free fall slides. This takes the cake by far. So in this review, we're going to talk about my opinion on the new slides. And let me tell you, those opinions are going to be pretty high. So let's get right into it. Let's start with some general thoughts about the slides. Now, these slides are landscaped absolutely beautifully. Quassy did a great job of converting one of their old picnic groves into the runout trail for the slide. They add some cabanas, they add some flowers, etc. The whole area looks very nice. They also were able to create an interesting line format and operation setup. So, when you're looking at the top of the slide platform, the entrance trough for the red slide is on the right, and the entrance troughs for the pink and blue slides are on the left, which means that the line will be divided accordingly. So, if you're in line for a slide, you're going to go on whichever side of the stairs that the entrance trough for that slide is on. Now, Quassy expected that the red slide would have the biggest line, which is true, and in doing so, they put that slide alone, so the lines will be about even. So the pink and blue side, which probably isn't as popular as the red, will have about an equal line in the stairs as red, which makes sense. Throughout my experiences, however, we found that the pink and blue slide line was considerably shorter. So if you are in a time crunch, you will see in this review that I would recommend doing the blue slide out of any of them, but we'll get to that later on. So with that being said, let's jump right into the slide reviews. First off, we have Torrent, which is the red and yellow slide, and this is the most talked about slide because it has 2 Tornado 18 funnels. As you may or may not have known, these slides were made by ProSlide, and ProSlide is, for the most part, Quassy's exclusive slide manufacturer. They did a great job fitting these slides into the tight layout that Quassy had and the tight amount of space they have. As you know, they are a landlocked park and waterlocked because of Lake Compounce, and they did a great job in fitting a lot of elements into a tight amount of space. Now, you're going to see some images on screen right now of the funnels, and this is the biggest eye-catcher of the entire complex, not just this slide. These funnels are really, really cool. Let's start from the beginning. You get into the entrance trough. It's a double-loaded trough along with the rest of the slide, so you get in, you wait for another person to be dispatched from the other side of the trough, and then you are. You start with a right-hand turn, a little drop and then a right-hand turn, and then you have that turn comes around, and then you drop into the first funnel. Now, this is definitely the slide that gets you the most wet. This slide got me absolutely soaked both times that I went on it. The funnels are really fun. The first one is a little more, not violent, this is not the right word, but it's a little more thrilling than the second one. If you are in the front of your tube, you definitely are going to go pretty high up in the wall. It's like, if you've ever been to Tornado slide at a bunch of the Cedar Fair and Six Flags parks, it's similar to that, but on a lot of the smaller scale. And because of that, kind of a higher thrill because it's in more compact space. So after you exit the first funnel, you're going to go through a little turn, a left-hand turn, and an outdoor slide section, and then you'll go into the second funnel, which is a lot similar to the first. But there is a water jet in the second funnel that is positioned to turn your raft around backwards if you're in a double raft. So, if you're riding a double raft, you will exit the slide backwards, because right after the second funnel, there's just one turn, and then you go into the run-out trail. Overall, this slide, as I said before, did have the longest line. I waited about 20 minutes for it both times, but it is a very, very fun slide. I would give it about an 8.5 out of 10 for its funnels and little outdoor section it has, and just being an eye-catcher in general, really inviting people to this slide complex. Next up, we have Quassy Rapids, which is the second slide. This is the pink and white slide, and this is the introductory slide. It's the least thrilling side of the complex, but that doesn't mean it's not fun. The ride starts with a drop out of the a trough, and then a left-hand turn, and a few turns enclosed, and then the slide opens up and you are outdoors. During that section of the slide, you make a figure 8, and then go one more turn, and then you go into the run-out track. So it's a pretty simple slide. As I said, not as thrilling as the other two, but great for families, because Quassy is a really family-oriented park, and I'd say that the other two slides are not geared towards families as much as this one, which is good. This is good because it's meeting Quassy's kind of target audience. The other thing about the slide is pretty good banking. It goes up the turns pretty well, about a 45-degree angle most turns. It did have the shortest line as well, which made the operations pretty efficient. In the beginning of the day, they were only running one dispatcher for the 2 pink and blue slides, but towards the end of the day, when it got really, really busy, because we did go on a very, very hot day, they started to run a dispatcher for both the pink and the blue slides. That meant 3 people at the top of the slide total. All that considered, I would give the slide 7 out of 10. Pretty fun, but not as fun as Torrent or the slide I'm about to talk about next. The next slide is Serpent, and this is the last slide in the complex, and let me tell you, this is my favorite slide by far. It is a pipeline slide similar to that of Quassy Rapids, except this slide has explosion turns. What explosion turns are is when you go around a turn, the diameter of the slide widens from 54 inches to 72 inches, which allows you to bank extremely heavily along the slide, the side of the slide, that is. This slide is by far the fastest. It's all enclosed, but some of the panels are see-through, or most of the panels are see-through as to let light in, so it's not totally in the dark, unlike Big Flush, which is on the other side of the Quassy property, but a similar concept. The explosion tunnels are the best part of the ride. I'm going to go through the ride layout now, which I think is the best ride layout out of all of them. Just because the red and yellow slide is kind of creative in its ride layout, but it's mostly focused on the funnels, and the pink slide has a creative layout too, but it's more geared towards families. I think this is the most thrilling layout by far. So you start with a left-hand turn out of the little entrance trough into one explosion curve that turns to the right, and then, it turns to the left, and then you go into another explosion turn which turns to the right, and then you do a drop in the dark, and then 2 explosion curves to round it out. That's kind of like a helix for all my coaster enthusiasts out there. It's shaped very, very, it's very steeply banked, both in pitch and in angle. Because of this, the ending is very, very intense. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's more intense than 75% of the roller coasters I've been on. And I've been on 104. So that says something. Because of this intensity, I think this is the best slide. It has to at least pull 3 Gs. I mean, if Toverland at Phoenix pulls 5, then this has to at least pull 3. So because of this, I would give this slide a 9.5 out of 10. I'm taking out for half a point just because it's a tiny bit short, but honestly, this is your ideal water park slide for Quassy. It's the best overall by far. Just some overall thoughts to close this out. This is the best slide complex in the water park, as I said before. Just in terms of the water park rankings of the slide, I would say that Blue Slide's the best, named Serpent, and then their Bullet Bowl, and then the Tornado, which is named Torrent, and then Quassy Rapids, which is the pink and white slide. Now, this is going to be heavily debated, and I encourage you to debate this in the comments below, but I think at this point, Quassy's water park is better than Lake Compounce. Yes, you heard me. Now, there's only one ride at Lake Compounce that I think it sets it apart as a water park, and that is Riptide Racers, which is their mat racer. And honestly, just Quassy slides are better overall. Lake Compounce really just needs some sort of expansion. They have a good wave pool, but Quassy they have their bucket structure, which takes care of that. Lake Compounce's bucket structure is extremely weak. It doesn't really have a lot to do on it. Quassy's is huge. Quassy's tunnel twister slides are better. Lake Compounce doesn't really have any free fall slides. They have Lights Out, but Lights Out is so slow anyway. They don't have anything similar to Bullet Bowl. They have that family raft ride, but that has the longest line always, since operations are horrendous. Just in general, I think Quassy is starting to win with their water park. Eric Anderson, who is one of the presidents of the park, has said that there is more coming, and that expansion is just beginning. They have a lot planned on the horizon. Something that they announced to ACE members is maybe a new Mylar kiddie coaster in the future to replace their aging Little Dipper, which was brought into service in 1952, which, if I can do math on the fly correctly, makes it 66 years old. Wow, that's old. So new Mylar coaster would be great for them. Obviously, replace a few of those aging flat rides. They don't really have many anymore because they took out their Torrent, and they're just constantly upgrading rides. Like the Yo-Yo got a new swing light package, and as did the Tilt-A-Whirl this year. And Quassy's just constantly improving. It's come to the point that Quassy is getting more than some Cedar Fair parks. Looking at you, Michigan's Adventure. But this is going to close out this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps our channel. Please subscribe as well. Leave a comment. Say if you think Quassy's water park is better than Lake Compounce and why, or what you would like to see come to Quassy in the future. And I will be at Six Flags Great Adventure next week, the week of I believe it is the 8th? Yes, the week of the 8th. Hope to see some of you there. Thrill Corner is my Instagram. Many of you know that. If you want to meet up with me, Great Adventure, that'd be great. But, as always, Thrill Corner signing off for Thrill Source. Thanks for watching, and ride on.